Hi, everyone.
Hi guys, we're back.
Robert, welcome to the shop
Hi.
floor.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited.
We're really excited to have you. To be honest,
Thank you. Thanks for
I've
having
spent
me.
I've spent all morning watching your videos.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for I'll get that algorithm going.
Yeah, I'm like boosting, like.
I've fallen down so many Robert Welsh rabbit holes in my time. So it's so nice to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was thinking how to describe you, and I almost felt like influencer was too reductive a title.
Oh, thank you.
You're really a makeup educator, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I have to be honest with myself, and now I am a full-time influencer. So I have to, or content creator as the kids call it now. So I have to say that. But previously, I've been doing that for a shorter time than I have been professional makeup. So I was a professional makeup artist and I taught makeup and I did everything people do in makeup, and then just fell into influencing in the last 5 or 6 years.
And now that's your full-time job.
That's now my full-time thing. No more getting up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. It's great.
But you have literally blown up. I did a quick look. 1 million followers on YouTube, 355,000 on TikTok, and 358,000 on Instagram.
It's nuts.
Yes.
Your life is no longer your own.
No, it's not. I love it. I love it that way.
So I suppose I have to begin by telling our listeners how we initially got in touch with each other.
Yes.
You were, I assume, scrolling on TikTok and stumbled across our viral working at Selfridges video.
Yes. Oh my God.
Do you remember what you commented?
I do. It was something about crying, and because I couldn't believe it when I came across a TikTok, I was like, "Oh my God, I wasn't the only person with that experience." And I remember saying something like, "We had a crying room," and then people responded, and I was like, "Was it the room out the back with the water thing?" And I was like, "Yes." So it wasn't just my crying room; it was everyone else's too. And I could not believe the experience people had was the same as mine from working in Selfridges.
Absolutely
It was
crazy.
so good.
I've got it here. I worked there for 2 years, and we had an area specifically to go and cry in.
Yes. Yeah.
Where do we start? Was Selfridges your first retail job?
No, it wasn't. So I'd actually been in retail for a very long time. So I don't know if everyone would remember Virgin Records when they had.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, of course.
So that was my first ever like retail job. It was like part-time, I was like 2 years old, obviously not that young, but very young. And then I went to Debenhams. And
So were you like, sorry, were you like an
Okay.
indie kid? What were you when you were a teenager?
I was an
working
emo. I had a fringe, and I was like, yeah, very much didn't fit in there really, to be honest with you. And then I went to Debenhams as a Christmas temp, and I was put on, I didn't ask to be, the Clinique, Estee Lauder and fragrance counter. It was all the same one because it was a very small like I want to say city, not even
Debenhams.
Yeah, like a hometown Debenhams, exactly. And it was great. I remember I worked with someone, I think her name was Katie, and she wore black lip liner and gold lipstick every day. And I was like, you are my idol. And then since then, I was kind of interested in makeup. And then I did I call it like regular retail, like Topshop. That's it, actually, Topshop, Top Man. And then I went to go and work after that in Selfridges. And that's when it was my first real beauty retail job.
So you were at Virgin Records, and then
Yes.
where did you go on to?
So I went to Debenhams as a Christmas temp, and I was on a counter that was Clinique, Estee Lauder, and fragrance. So it was everything. This was when like DKNY Apple fragrances came out.
Oh, I remember seeing those on display, and just wanting to eat them all.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? A really horrible story, just really quick from out. This is also when David Beckham's fragrance came out. And and they told me to go and like traffic stop, when you stand in the street. It's like, would you like to try this fragrance? Can I swear on here?
Of course.
Okay, cool. So I don't think I've heard you two swear before, so I'm like, maybe it's not correct. So I went out and I was like, oh, would you like to try? And everyone was like, no. And this will scar me for the rest of my life. I said to this guy, oh, do you want to try something? He went, fuck off. And then just And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back inside and tell my manager that I was just told to fuck off. So
there is literally nothing like going out onto the street and having to sell to the general public on the street. You have to bare your soul out there. And every time I've done it, you come back in the shell of a person because they just like bring you back down to reality.
Injured.
Jasmine, wasn't it you at Whittard giving out hot chocolate samples?
I would be doing the samples. No, it wasn't. Oh, no? It wasn't, because it would be in the winter. They'd be like, you have to get rid of all of these. And I lived in a really small town. So like it would be one person come past every like 20 minutes. So I would just knock them back. And then they'd be like, they're going down a treat. Some more. Go out with some more. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, please, can we be done?
So did you catch the bug then, working at Debenhams? Was that what did you like about it?
Question. You know what? So I worked with a girl, Katie, and she wore black lipstick and gold lipstick. No, black lip line and gold lipstick every day. And I was like, icon, she's great. But also the Clinique lady wore a lab coat every day.
The lab coat.
And she was like to me, okay, these are very like... don't recommend these to people. If you need help, ask me. I was like, no, I want to know everything. I want to know everything that you know. I want to be able to touch those products. And she used to sit them down and do like makeup on people and stuff like that. And I just remember being a little bit jealous. I was like, I want to touch things and do things. So I think from then I was a little bit like, yeah, no, I do kind of want to do this. But I did just end up going to Topshop and Topman for a while. Through that horrible coloured jeans stage, you know, when they had the X jeans and they were white, red, green, blue. Kate Moss launched when I was there. It was that time period.
And was this in your hometown? Was this the Topshop?
Like one over. It was like one over. But my friends had jobs there, you know what I mean? In that same little town. So it was just like a nice place to be. And sometimes we would have lunch together. But I didn't really have any... ambition to go into beauty, anything like that there. In my mind, I was like, well, in retail, don't you just work your way up until you're a manager? And that was like,
it's a trap.
Plan. It's an absolute trap. It's a trap, absolutely. Which lucky I didn't get stuck in. Close,
I did. Oh, you did? 20 years later.
Tim's still there.
Still here.
Yeah, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I should be doing it, but I also don't want to because the work is harder than actually what they pay me. So why should I bother? You know what I mean? But it was fine. Topshop was fine. And then I actually wanted to get into makeup. I wanted to do prosthetic makeup. I was super into horror and stuff like that. So I was like, I want to do prosthetic makeup for movies.
Funny you should say that, because my friend that I went to art school with went to Rick Baker makeup school in LA. I think Rick Baker did all the makeup for like Michael Jackson's Thriller video, loads of horror movies.
Amazing.
And loved it. So you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And you thought perhaps getting into beauty as a kind of full-time job might help you get there?
It was my mum who made this one suggestion. And she said, why don't you try normal makeup first? And I was like, well, yeah, we'll try normal makeup first. I'll do that. So I did the most basic of basics of courses, which I don't accredit any of my knowledge or skill to at all. And then I had an interview with Mac, and I didn't know what Mac was when I got the interview.
Wow.
Because in my hometown, we had Benefit, Clinique, Clarins, Estee Lauder.
That was it. That's like the trinity of your initial makeup. And Bare Minerals. Bare Minerals for me.
Bare Minerals, yes.
Debenhams. And like that was probably my first introduction as a young woman into makeup, was going to Debenhams, having no clue what any of it did, and just like kind of going way around. I feel like everyone's had those like terrible Benefit makeovers before, when they would like make you like some pin-up girl and you're only like 16 and you come out and you want to cry and you're like, oh my god, you
got black eyebrows and a red lip and a beauty spot.
Huge wings up to here.
Or Clinique, your skin is stripped to within an inch of its life. It's like a paint stripper.
One of their 3-step skin stripping routines. Yeah.
You can't leave the house for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No pores because they've been obliterated.
Exactly. Your skin's just trying to heal. So I got this interview with Mac, and I had no idea what Mac was. So I had a phone interview first, and I had to research it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a big deal brand. And then I had an interview over the phone, and I had all my printouts of everything that they've ever done ever, and just kind of went through that and got through to my actual initial makeup application interview, which was horrific and probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life.
Tell us everything.
What's that? Yeah.
So they make you do like a makeover, right? But there's always something technical. So it would be you have to do a liquid liner and you also have to do a lip liner. Yeah. So I took my friend who was my model, acting as my model for me. And here's me thinking, I'm great. I'm fine. I remember getting there and asking for a sponge, one of those triangle sponges, instead of all the amazing brushes I had in front of me. And I just slapped on her makeup like a crazy person. And it came to the end of the interview and she looked at it. She was like, okay, you haven't done lip liner. I was like, you're right, I haven't done lip. She was like, I'll give you 5 more minutes. I was like, great, 5 minutes. So I did this dodgy lip liner, which looks like a child trying to color in the lines, you know what I mean? And I thought, this is terrible. How can I hide it? And there was a lip gloss. And, you know, matte lip gloss, which is this thick, heavy, sticky, covered. Smothered her lips. I was like, just don't talk, because if you open your mouth, it's going to, you know.
So you ravaged her makeup, and then the interviewer said, you've got the job.
Well, when she comes over and she's like, oh, great. Well, how do you think you did? I was like, oh, yeah, I think I did really well. And she asked my model, she's like, how did you do? And she goes, yeah, great. And she had like all these strings of gloss like in between. She was like, do you love it? And she was like, yeah. So they called me back and was like, we don't actually think you'll be good for... At makeup, no, as an artist role, but we do have loads of cashier roles open because Selfridges, the MAC Selfridges counter was the busiest in the world at that point. This is before Times Square in New York opened. It was the busiest MAC counter in the world. So they had just cashiers and they had just artists who were on the floor and then just stock people. I was like, wonderful. And then from there, I did all my certifications with MAC. I did loads of practice and just went from there, really.
So the cashier role was the in. It was the in.
It was an in and it was also my out as well.
It's funny you should say about it being the busiest in the world.
Yeah.
My housemate Kim, my friend Debbie, Tom, James, all worked at the Mac counter at Selfridges. I was asking, still in trauma, a couple in rehab,
shaking.
So I asked her about it before you coming on the show. She said it was so busy and it was so stressed that me and my friend used to just leave the counter and go for a wine in the basement.
No one would know.
And nobody noticed.
No one would know at all. You could walk off and just go and have a little walk around. You could go and cry, like we said, go and have a little cry. You could have a 2-hour lunch break if you were an artist, not so much if you were a cashier, because you were very much switching around, and no one would know. It was so busy. I don't think it is as busy as it used to be, retail in general anyway, but I just feel like it was just insane. We always had the music blaring. You couldn't hear your customers. We were opposite Benefit at this point. Sometimes there were dance off between the Benefit artists and the Mac artists. You'd be like, what's happening? It was insane, and everyone hated you because you worked for Mac. It was great.
If you worked at Mac, you were the cool kids, weren't you?
Yeah, you were the bee's knees.
Yeah, and you were just an asshole, straight up. You were just an absolute asshole.
We've heard some horror stories about the Benefit counter, but I think that's for another episode.
Oh yeah, I do feel sorry for people that work for Benefit. That company and the way they want their staff to work it's asking a lot. It's asking a lot, especially of Benefit.
So your makeup skills improved to the point that they let you loose on the general public?
Yeah, so I had a manager called Shelley. She was great. She was from Scotland. And she would occasionally let me off from behind the counter to go on the floor. And of course, I had my basic training with MAC, and then they certify you on different stages. So I was practicing here and there, and the main manager caught on, and she was like, well, no, you're a cashier, so don't do that.
Straight back down to earth.
Yeah, straight back. Get behind the counter.
Don't follow your dreams.
Exactly. We won't help you in any way. So I actually wasn't an official Mac artist until I moved to Brixton. I worked in Morley's, not the chicken shop, the department store in Brixton. So I worked there as an artist because I was fired from Selfridges. By Selfridges.
By Selfridges, not by Mac.
Not by Mac. So Mac moved me to a different store. So
tell us everything.
If it makes you feel better, Selfridges hate us. So We're all in the same boat here.
They traumatize all their staff, so let's be real. So I'm dyslexic, right? I'm very, very dyslexic. So that's why I'm creative, because I can't do anything else.
This is going to be this is going to be a cashing up story, isn't it?
It is.
Oh my God, those
with
tills.
a twist, I know, right? So imagine you're taking in, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands a day, right? On one till, and there's like 6 on this counter. When I was cashing up one day, one of the artists was having a go at me about something, and I was like, it wasn't even anything to do with my job. And I was like, can you just go away? Anyway, I made the till, you know, when you tally it all up and it's a big, massive receipt would print out. And then you had to go, it was the most complex thing that only mathematicians should be doing. Like no one should be doing, especially makeup artists shouldn't be doing that. My till was £400 over.
Perfect.
Not under, over.
Perfect. It's a win.
Great. It's a win for everyone. No, but none of the tills were under any cash. So it wasn't like an exchange of change or anything like that. And I said to my assistant manager, my supervisor at the time, who was desperately trying to be assistant manager, she corrected it just fine. No issue. It was all good, right? I've had more stressful times on cash registers before. A few days later, I'm like called into, well, it wasn't the office. Oh, it was a crying room. I was called into a crying room. And
preparing you.
Yeah. By my assistant manager. And she was like, we were told that you had like a big kind of mishap on the till. I was like, oh, it wasn't really big. It was corrected by the supervisor. She was like, yeah, she said that you didn't deal with it very well. And I was like, it was dealt with. It's fine. And she was like, hey, well, we're not actually going to allow you on the tills anymore.
So she did you dirty.
She did me fucking dirty. She dogged me in because she was so desperate to be correct to get this assistant manager job. God. It turns out, anyway, one of the supervisors was stealing money. Anyway, she, yeah, I know, he got sacked. Maybe that's why they were being so on it. About it now, yeah. So they were like, you can't go on the tills anymore. And I was like, well, that's my only job. So what I can do? Stock all day. You have stock people. Like, what am I meant to do? Then what happened? Oh, then I was signed off work for 2 months with glandular fever. Ooh. Yeah. And then after that, I went straight from having glandular fever to having like, what was it? A disciplinary meeting for being sick, and then a disciplinary meeting for the cash register situation.
And this is is this Selfridges or is this Mac?
This was a mix of, I guess it was a mix of the two, because it was Mac, like staff that were doing it, the higher ups in Mac and Estee Lauder. I had to go to Estee Lauder head office for some of my hearings, I guess.
Court hearings.
Right? For making putting cash into the till. £400.
Sorry, I took more money for you.
Yeah, right? Sorry, you're up on your targets. And it ended up with me being sacked from Selfridges and Mac until I was on the phone, and they were like, they sacked me over the phone because I wasn't actually living in London. I was traveling in every day, an hour every day.
Wow.
And they were like, do you have anything else to say on the phone? And then I went, yes, I have dyslexia. And then the woman was like, oh, tell me more about this. And so they couldn't actually sack me because I actually have a learning disability. So they moved me from Selfridges to the new store that was opening up in Brixton, which, twist of fate, I got the most makeup experience. I got the most education, everything like that at that one store. And I think that really kicked off my career there as a makeup artist.
Wow. It happens for a reason. Everything.
Exactly.
I think what you sum up really well for other listeners that work on concessions is you really are dealing with 2 sets of managers. And it's so heavy. When I was at Selfridges, I worked at Christian Louboutin.
Oh, God.
And, it was hell. It was hell.
I bet your floor manager was horrific.
It was so busy.
Yeah.
And we had 2 tills. We had a concession till, and then we had a Selfridges. Yes. We had to scan the item into both tills. The tills never tallied. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. Horrific. I think I worked at John Lewis for a while, and I think we had that as well. Especially when there was sales and stuff. It was like, yeah.
So you're answering to your line manager, and then you're answering to the Selfridges manager. You would just leave at the end of the day broken. mentally broken.
You feel like you work for some kind of like crazy cult where you're like, I'm no one, I'm a number. Well, that's retail, isn't it? Like a number, and you know, no one cares that I've been crying out the back for an hour and I've had glandular fever for 2 months, and you know, and then you know. Oh, it's just horrendous. And it was that situation where it's like, I've been sick. There's nothing I can do. Would you rather I came into work and coughed on everyone while dribbling and, you know, have this weird rash? Like, what do you want me to do? You know? It's like, we're going to discipline you anyway.
They're like, oh, you know, we really appreciate if you could get better. You know, those kinds
of
things.
Yeah, if you could just be well really next week.
Yeah, it would be great for us. Thanks.
Jasmine, what was that story about our friend that broke her foot and tried to get the day off to go to hospital?
Oh my God. And then the manager was like, what did she say? What was she saying to her?
Something like, it's really not convenient.
Yeah, this is not a great time.
That means the staff aren't going to be able to take a lunch today if you go to hospital.
Oh, stop. Stop. It's so insane.
She can walk the girl.
At what point do you become, as a human, become so into your job as a retail manager that you forget what it's like, that your body doesn't just time your illness or your broken limbs or funerals or Christmas, you know?
Totally. And the whole point to retail is it's meant to be people-centered, but the managers in retail just completely lose sight of that.
And when do they get there? It's like, you worked on the floor, you know exactly what it's like to hate your job, but love everyone you're working with, you know? You're not purposely putting everyone out because you broke your foot, you know?
It's the fear that those managers who are like that, when you're calling in sick and you're almost making yourself more sick just of saying like, I won't be in today.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you can hear the disappointment in their voice and just how they hate you.
Right. And they're like, call us at 1 to let us know how you are. And then for the morning, like, I need to go back at 1. I need to go back at 1. I'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah. Or you call in sick, and then by the end of the call, you're going in at 1 p.m. Okay, I'll see you at 1. You know? How did that happen? I just got gaslit and I'm on the tube on the way to work.
Exactly. I'm a terrible person for having bodily functions. I need to go to work. Yeah.
So what was different about Morley's in Brixton? Who was that owned by? Was that like a House of Fraser or?
No, I think they were independent, actually. I don't know if they've just been bought out recently because they have more designer brands in there now, like a lot more. But they were very much their own thing. But they were like up on the rise, and they built this amazing Mac counter. It was right next to Benefit, but they also had Iman. Do you remember Iman?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah, Black Up, YSL.
David Bowie's wife.
Oh, the YSL as well.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. Oh God. It was a great little beauty hall for such a small department store. But it was so much more. I really preferred it because there was more of a community in Brixton, right? People would come and do their food shop in Iceland across the street, and then they'll pop over to get their foundation. And you saw the same people over and over and over again. The floor managers were nicer. Their Christmas events were nicer. They were smaller. Your manager was nicer. And it wasn't as intensely busy during the week, but Saturdays were Saturdays. You know what I mean? And Sundays were Sunday. But it was just busy. We always hit target. It was just such a great place to work. I loved it.
And what was your manager like?
She got fired for mismanagement.
That says it all.
She got fired for mismanagement. My first manager.
Bless her.
And then I had she was awful actually. She would sit a client on the chair, right? And she'll be like, so when did you last exfoliate your face? And I'll be like, oh, I don't exfoliate. What is that? Oh, and then she'll walk around the counter looking at us. Bear in mind, Mac is quite an intimidating place, or back then was quite an intimidating place to go to. She will look at us. She hasn't exfoliated her face ever.
Peeling off. Just
and you'll be doing stocking like, oh, that's crazy. Like, you know, she's like shouting out these words. You're there to teach these people and hopefully sell them something. We don't make a commission, so it was always an honest sell. How to look after their face if they didn't know. Teach them. What a great teaching moment, right?
Yeah.
But she was terrible. Everything was an inconvenience. I've never plucked my eyebrows. Oh, this person doesn't. Yeah, oh, she was the worst. She was the absolute worst.
I can't possibly work on her.
Right. Yeah, she was
Terrible
awful.
canvas.
And she would tell all the people, she was like, yeah, I taught all the staff here makeup myself. And it's like, you have people here who have been at some of the best makeup schools in London. You haven't, not me, but you haven't, taught these people anything. She was horrific, absolutely horrific. But then I had a nice one, and then I moved again. So
she was skin shaming the whole of Brixton, basically.
The whole of Brixton. She hated everyone, including herself.
That's always how it starts.
There comes a time in retail for some people where they just need to step aside.
If it's too much, if it's breaking you down emotionally,
we get it. You're over it. It's time to go.
Know what? Right, it's time to go. But at the same time, when you have that support system of your colleagues, you can kind of be like, you know what, we're all in this together. We're all having a shit day to day. But when you're the manager and you're an asshole in yourself and to your team, it's like you have no one but yourself.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And your laptop that you keep taking off to some office. But I'm just doing this and then going missing for 3 hours,
Oh my God, the classic.
Right.
All managers do that.
I have to do payroll.
Want to do the rota, rota.
Yeah.
I'm like,
see you in 3 months. Yeah, exactly.
I had a manager that would leave early, say I have to go to another store, but she'd always take a different route. I'd see them take a different route. I'm like, she's gone home.
She had plans today. It was great working there. I loved working there though. But I wasn't there for long. I think I was there for, again, 2 years, and then I moved to the Pro store in Soho after that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I know that store.
Yeah.
I passed there a lot. It's on the corner. Was it on a corner still?
So it was the one that was in the white building, the white brick. So you used to have to go down this little alleyway, and then there was a white building there. And now they moved to another one, which is like on the main bit.
Robert, you're making it sound very dodgy. Just down this,
you go down this back alley. Soho.
Backstreet makeup.
Down little cobble streets.
So all you need to do. All you need to do is just ask the clients if they want business, and then we'll take it.
We take cash only.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or PayPal. It was that was great though. That was so to work in that store at the time. You had to have all your Mac certifications up to your Pro one. So I had done all that, and I was like, yeah, I really want to work there, and I did. Worked with great people there. Got loads of different opportunities there. I was there for I think I was there for 5 years.
Wow. The training format sounds pretty
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be. I don't know if it's the same now, because I did work at for Mac again more recently, after I worked in Florida for a while. But it used to be extensive, and they would dedicate to training their staff to have the best of the best artists. It's not the same so much now, but it was good. It was a really, really good benefit of working for that brand.
I think you see that less and less now. I can imagine that they really retained their staff then, did they? Like people stuck around.
Yeah, they did. They I mean, you had the best discount. And they still had people on what was called the original contract. So they got clothing allowance. They made commission. They had different things that was like, it was like a more of an American contract basically. But they had all these benefits. So loads of people were there for years and years and years and years making great money. And it was the best makeup brand to work for at the time. And that was kind of what was keeping you there. Now, not so much, but it was, they really, I felt, looked after and appreciated at that time when I worked for Mac.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this before, but I think, retail has always been badly paid, but there were perks to retail.
Yes.
And they're amazing perks, and they've all but vanished in the last few years.
Right, yeah. When I left Mac, I was like, what am I going to do about my discount? How am I ever going to buy an eyebrow pencil again in my life? But it was also the perk, like you said, work for that brand was your discount, the name of the brand, the experience they were giving you. And if you're in the pro team, you're going off and doing fashion week, you're doing celebrities makeup, you're doing all this great stuff, the constant training. You used to leave your training every 3 months with like a sack of free makeup. They don't do that anymore. All the new collections, it was great, but that's not something that they do so much. And working with a brand more recently, actually maybe a year before we went into lockdown was the latest I worked with them. Completely different brand, focused on sales, not artistry. you're on a sinking ship with retail makeup at the moment.
Yeah. Do you think that's because the whole market has exploded now? And it's like Jasmine was saying before, you had Clinique, Benefit, MAC. Now, with the explosion of social media, when we're so exposed, and people like you are exposing us to all these new amazing brands.
Yeah.
So MAC have kind of been displaced in the market and are just chasing sales and have forgotten the creative aspect of what they're all about.
Yeah. So I did a video on my YouTube channel about MAC, and for those who don't look at my content, I do makeup stuff. I also do some commentary stuff where I look at brands and the downfall or potential downfall. And I pinpoint a moment in MAC when...
Was it when you arrived at the business?
When I walked in and they lost money. No, they gained money and the brand just started to fall. There was this point in time when the makeup online industry, I guess, started to come in with YouTube and stuff like that. And I could tell when it happened because clients were asking me to contour. I was like, how do you know that word? And stuff like this. But they were also asking for things that we didn't have in the UK as much yet. Anastasia Beverly Hills with her liquid lipsticks was a big one. And they would be like, do you have this? And they'll show you a picture from the old Instagram of a liquid lipstick from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's like, we do nothing like that. We used to do the lacquer and then it would dry and you put gloss on top, but it was nothing like that. Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick. We didn't have anything like that. Years and years and years and years and years later, MAC did one. But it's like the industry changed so quickly and MAC never caught up. And they were always a few steps behind. And it was like, you're meant to be the leaders and the brand. And now you're not.
Do you think that's because of its sheer size? I suppose the bigger a company gets, the more hierarchical it becomes. Whereas a smaller business can be quite nimble and push out products quicker.
I totally agree. I agree. But I also arrogance of a brand. MAC always prided themselves, and a lot of Estee Lauder brands mainly MAC, we never advertise. You'll never see us in Boots. You'll never see us on any other retailers. You'll never see an advert in a magazine. It's word of mouth. That's how it has been. It's professionals. We are MAC and we don't need to advertise. Now they're in Boots. Now they have concessions in Boots. Now they had adverts. I saw an advert on TV and I was like, what the fuck is this? They are doing all that stuff that they now know they need to do in such a competitive world of makeup that they didn't see coming. And I think that was a lean into their downfall of being the brand. If they had kept up and saw the importance of doing so earlier on, I think there would still be game changers, you know?
I think what interests me so much about MAC is that it has always felt very much a kind of queer-friendly, safe space.
100%.
Certainly through all of their messaging, you know, the launch of Viva Glam in '94, the fact that RuPaul was the first. You know, a black man that does drag was their first representative, really shows how progressive it was at the time.
Yes, yeah.
Did that filter down onto the shop floor? Because as a customer, I felt that. I remember being 18, going to get my MAC Select cover-up, NW20.
I miss that concealer. Oh my God, that was the best.
I still remember NW20. And it just felt like, even in the late 90s, chill and safe for me to go and buy some makeup as a man.
Yeah, I think that comes from as well the people who created the brand to men who worked in the fashion industry, especially in the 90s, like what a place to be and a time to be in the fashion industry. I was very lucky growing up because I never felt different or out of line for being who I am. I have very, I say amazing parents, but it's what should be normal that, you know, I was accepted for everything I am. And even growing up, it was husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend. You know what I mean? It was never like that. So I never felt out of place. However, I never really met anyone very, very similar to me, apart from my twin brother, but that doesn't count.